Hello my beautiful besties, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a hot minute since I have sat here and talked with y'all. I just wanted to give you a mid-year update or a wrap-up of all of the books that I have read so far in 2025 and let you know my thoughts on them. I am quickly approaching my goal. I read 27 books last year, which has been the most that I have read I think in my entire life since getting back into reading and probably just in general. So I set this year's goal to at least be 27. So right now we are sitting at 24 books out of 27. So I'm so excited to not only hit my goal, but to surpass it this year because I have so many other books that I want to get to. But first, let's sit and review all of the books that I currently have read. As I've mentioned, I've read 24 books so far in 2025, 16 of those books being audiobooks, while the remaining 8 were physically read. I currently have read 2,963 pages physically, and I have listened to 142 and a half hours of audiobooks. And out of the 24 books, 6 of them have been romance, 2 have been contemporary, 9 have been thriller mystery, and 7 has been fantasy. And for an average rating for all of the books, it is currently sitting at 4.1. Starting in January, we finished all of the current books out for the ACOTAR series. So I completed A Court of Silver Flames in January. I started it in December last year, and then I went with my fiance's family on a trip to Texas, so I said, you know what the perfect book is? This honker. So I started in December, I think a little bit before leaving for our trip, which I think was maybe right after Christmas. So I finished it up on the way back home, or I finished it when we got home. But anyways, was this a book? My rating for this book was 4.5 stars. It would have been a 5-star, but the ending truly disappointed me. But in all, I do think I was pleasantly surprised with this book. Did I hear it was a lot of spicy scenes and smut? Yes. And was there a, yeah, but maybe, I guess to give you guys a gauge if you haven't read this book or this series yet, basically the first 3 main books, so A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Wings and Ruin, there is maybe like 3 to 4 smut scenes. This maybe had like 5, 6 smut scenes. I don't think it was anything crazy. I really liked the chemistry between Nesta and Cassian, and I really enjoyed the full circle that Nesta experienced in her character development and how she was literally able to tap into her powers and be that, you know, bad bee that we needed her to be. So I'm really excited to see her in the future novels, but I'm also disappointed how the story has ended, and I also did not like the picture that was painted for Rhys and Farah. I think it paints them in a negative light, and it kind of takes them down from this pedestal that we have given them in the first. I don't really count the Frost and Starlight as like a book because it's like a mini novella, but the way that they were pictured in the first 3 books, it really just like took them down. But rightfully so. I think Nesta Slade, and she is my favorite character unless Elaine gets it together, you know what I mean? I really am looking forward to Elaine's character development. But anyways, that is enough yapping about this book. 4.5 stars. It was going to be a 5-star, but I just didn't like how the ending played out, and it favored Farah. And I just, like, honestly, in this whole series anyways, I wasn't Farah's #1 fan to begin with. I didn't think she was that strong of a female character. Nessa was the strong female character that I've been needing in this series, so. Anyways, that is that. Next, I read Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and by read, I meant listen to. I really enjoyed this story. I think this is book 1 in the I don't know, they're all connected to Yours Truly and Just for the Summer. And last year I read Yours Truly and Just for Summer. I read them all out of whack, so not that it really matters, but I actually really liked this story a lot. I really liked the idea of the B&B, and I think her name's Alexis is the main character. I really liked her character, and I think his name is Daniel. His name is Daniel, not David. But anyways, I really liked the chemistry between David and Alexis, and I just really liked her just going from being a city girl and going to Daniel's small town, and it just being totally different from her, and her actually just embracing Daniel's lifestyle. And I just thought it was super cute and gorge. And if I didn't say it already, I rated this book a 4-star. Next, we dragged our feet with Nightbane, and yes, don't be fooled by all of the tabs. I just had to pull through and annotate it because I already started. That's literally why. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm just gonna preface something. I DNF'd one audiobook, I think, and then I soft DNF'd Fourth Wing, so that's not included in this, but the same reason of Fourth Wing that I literally have not been able to finish Fourth Wing. I don't know what it is about Fourth Wing, but I literally cannot get through it. I've been enjoying it. I've enjoyed it. So let me preface. I started Fourth Wing in February, March, and if you see my Fable book club, it is still the book that we're reading for. Yeah, no, it's bad. No, I understand how bad it is. I just really, I don't know what it is. It was something about this book, Fourth Wing, that I literally could not get into it. This book, I don't know what it was. I just hit a major slump with this book. And even though the way that Alex Aster at least wrote Lightlark and Nightbane, it is fast paced, but there's just so many, it's just a lack of detail, and I don't know. I would say, okay, an equivalent to how this reads is how Shatter Me reads, in the way of how things are presented. It is one thing after another, and it just keeps you on your toes. Yes, but I don't know. This was the lack of detail for me. As compared to this is beauty, grace, and all, we love this book. But I don't know what it was for this book, but I could not get through it, and I was trying to physically read it. I had to immersive read to get this through, so I did listen to the last, I don't even know. I got it done though. But yeah, I rated Nightbane 3.75, which, yeah, I remember the plot twist, but everything else was kind of just I don't know. It's just obviously it's gonna leave you on a big cliffhanger. I don't know. My overarching feeling about this book is that I don't feel like I'm gonna continue with the series. So maybe if I have nothing to read, I will read Skyshade, but I will be putting this series down for a sec. Next, we have P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connolly. And this book was about dealing with her brother who passed away, and the tension between her brother's best friend and her, and having to go to all these places that her brother left in the will with him, because both his sister and his best friend were the closest people to him, and that was just the last thing he wanted in his will. And because not to get too personal, but I lost someone very close to me last year, and when I read this, or excuse me, I was listening to this on audio, but anyways, when I was listening to this and the way that the main character described grief, it just resonated with me, and how ugly, and it's just, grief is not linear, and I don't know, it resonated so deeply with me, and I found myself relating to the main character. But the way the whole love story unfolded as well was so beautiful, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and I rated it a 4-star. In February, we read 4 books, and I think all of them were audiobooks. First, we have The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie, a satirical novel by Frida McFadden. And this was like a 2 to 3 hour audiobook. It was super short, and honestly, it was kind of funny, and it was still kind of suspenseful. She got me with that one. But I think I rated it a 3.5 star because the ending was just so stupid. So I was just like, girl. But it's a satirical novel, so it was kind of funny. Moving swiftly along, we read the first book of the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. And I remember, I actually don't have a rating for this on Fable for some reason. I don't know what happened to that, but I think I would probably rate, I would have to look back at the previous footage of reading my physical TBR, but I think this would probably set at like a 4 star, just because the way the narration, the production value for the narration was insane. Like the way that she's filming the podcast, and it sounds like a podcast, and like different guests, and there's different narrators. I just think the way this was put together was so well done, but there were times where it just fell flat. I don't know, it just didn't grab my attention. And the same thing, I have the same feelings for the second book, which I don't even think I'm gonna finish this series because I'm just like, but anyways, Good Girls Guide to Murder book 1 by Holly Jackson was probably a 4 star. Next, in February, we read Cinder by Marissa Meyer, and let me tell you something. I had this book on my shelf for so long. As in, just book 1, I've had it probably since high school or right after I graduated. So mind you, I don't even want to say how long that ago that was, because then it makes me feel bad about myself. But I thought, okay, I had a different idea of what this book in this series was going to be. I thought, you know, we have Cinder is about Cinderella, and it's just like a sci-fi retelling. And then, you know, Cress is Rapunzel, and it's her own story. No, girl, these are all interconnected, and I didn't know that it was just one big fat series and they're all different characters. And I don't know why that doesn't sit well with me. I wanted kind of like standalones, and I thought they were standalones, but they're not. And that's nobody's fault but my own, because you know I like to go in blind. I like to go and read books blindly. So, you know, shame on me, I guess, because I didn't know. I had no idea. So that's kind of just my fault on that one. But anyways, I read it and I still thoroughly enjoyed this book. I really liked the premise. It was just so different than what I've been reading, that, you know, sci-fi aliens or whatever. I don't even know what they are. The moon people. I don't know. It's just like this intergalactic system that they have in this book that we have barely tapped into yet. It was just so intriguing to me, and I rated it a 4.25 star. And lastly, in February, we have Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez. This was about a woman who has ALS. Let me not misspeak. This is book 3 of the Friend Zone series, which I did not read the other ones. But this is about Vanessa, who has ALS and living with the fear of any day could be your last day. I just thought it brought an interesting perspective, and I just love when authors just bring awareness to certain conditions, certain diseases, etc. And it's not in like a romanticizing way. It's more of like, I wouldn't say like educational, because this is a rom-com, but it just, I don't know, it just gave the character a little bit more realness, a little bit more grit, and I enjoyed it. I thought the romance was super cute. I think the main male character just being ride or died for her, regardless if she had this disease or not, and just truly loving her for the person that she is. I think that was such a beautiful thing. I thought it was just a beautiful story all in all, and it felt very realistic, and the banter was very real, so I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I rated it 4 stars. Next, in March, I read one of my so far favorite books in 2025, and because there is another book that I read this year that was really good, and it's probably gonna be one of my favorites. Anyways, I read The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, and 5-star. Hands down, 5-star, 10 toes down. We are down for, bro, what's his name? Okay, don't do this to me. Ewan. We are 10 toes down for Ewan. I loved this book. I loved the character. I loved the chemistry. When I want a romance book, this is the formula right here. This is the secret formula for romance. This was so good. Perfect. No other words. Next, we listened to The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. Honestly, I really liked this book. Typically with Frida, I have a love-hate relationship, and when I say love-hate relationship, it means that usually her novels are really, really good, and then the ending kind of just like, for me. But The Boyfriend, for it being, I think it was a newer release, I really liked it. I thought it was interesting and fun, and I rated it 4.25 stars. Next we have The Locked Door, which I think it's also by Frida McFadden. I didn't even write this down. I have a little dash because I didn't rate it on Fable, so I have no idea. I honestly hardly remember what this book is about, so I'm probably gonna say it's like a 3. Probably gonna say it's like a 2 or 3. I don't remember how it ends, and I don't really remember. The in-between is a little muddy for me, so that's that. Next, we went back to the Good Girl's Guide to Murder world, and we read listened to Killjoy by Holly Jackson, and honestly, I really like this. The way this is set up, it's set up like a murder mystery dinner, and it's just so interesting. I don't know, I just never read anything like this, and I thought this was super fun, so 4-star. Next, last book of March, Lock Every Door by Rayleigh Sager. What was that? It took so long for anything to happen in that book, and I was bored. Like, I literally, I don't know. You like couldn't tell who the bad guy was, you couldn't tell who the good guys were, which whatever, that's fine. But I don't know, it just like was not interesting. It just didn't grab it. It was boring. It was boring. Okay, 3.5 stars, because we finished it anyways. April. We're moving swiftly along to April, and I listened to, just to go back to March, all of those were audiobooks, I believe. Yes, all of those were audiobooks. And, anyways, April, we read My Favorite Half-Night Stand by Christina Lauren, because it was a shorty. It was a short book, and I wanted to listen to something short, because by this time, you know, I'm in so deep with the audiobooks, and I have been listening to audiobooks on audiobooks up until this point. So I read this book. It was kind of quirky, it was kind of cute, the characters were awkward and weird, and I liked it, but it was not anything crazy, so I rated it 3 stars. Next book in April was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and this is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Yeah. This was kind of like a 4-star. I really did think it was interesting. So let me break it down, I guess. I don't understand why Taylor Jenkins Reid made her Cuban if she wasn't going to include any of the culture or any of the history of Cuba. So it was just like kind of pointless why she made her Cuban if she... How do I explain this in a way that is not mean? Basically, there was no significance of making the main character Cuban or any other... If it were any other ethnicity, if you weren't going to bring up the societal struggles of it, living in a different country, constantly having, conflict between how you were raised and all of the struggles that your family went through in Cuba and as immigrants moving to America to start fresh in your new life, and then how you're growing up and how you're expected to change and morph into being more American and especially her going to Hollywood and having to change her whole identity, but having no conversations about the conflict of changing your identity to fit in to America's society. So that was not touched on at all. So that to me felt really flat, because what was the purpose? Other than that, I did think Evelyn's story was interesting. I do think the character Monique, who is doing the documentary on Evelyn Hugo, I think she was just not important to the whole story, and literally this could have just been about Evelyn Hugo, and Monique could have like never been mentioned, in my opinion. I just don't think she was that important to the story, so it literally could have just been like, it just literally could have been a story about Evelyn Hugo herself, telling it in her perspective, and just nothing to do with Monique. Anyways, it is Editing Alexis. I'm currently looking at all the footage and tying it all together. I guess what I was trying to say with the whole Taylor Jenkins Reid moment was that I don't understand why Taylor Jenkins Reid made the decision to make this character of a different ethnicity when it had no significance to the story. So what I mean is that there was no significance into calling her Cuban or another ethnicity because it wasn't important to the book. So I guess why make that point if you're not going to do anything with it? It would have been a different scenario, and, you know, potentially a really good opportunity for Taylor Jenkins Reid to expand on immigrants living in another country and having to conform to American society, and in general just societal pressure living in this country. So she didn't touch on that at all, which I feel like that could have really elevated the story and really played into Evelyn trying to figure out her identity and, you know, a lot of her struggles with her self-identity. I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid could have really tied that into the societal pressures that Evelyn faced, especially being in Hollywood and having to look perfect, to be a certain weight, to have a certain hair color, and to be with certain people. And I feel like there could have literally been a better polarizing dynamic between who she was and who she is going to be as she's making her way through Hollywood and being successful. So, and I know the whole premise of the story was to follow Evelyn Hugo and her love life and this and that, but it just made no sense as to why to bring in this minute detail if you're not going to expand on it, is kind of what that was kind of the gist I was getting at. So I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid missed the mark and a really great opportunity to talk about an even deeper societal issue that people who are not from a country originally and they migrate to that country, all of the pressure and conformity that they face being not native to that country. So I felt like that could have really been a good opportunity, but not really what the story was focused on. But I couldn't just get past that for some reasons. I was like, why do you mention that your mom made caldo gallego and all of this stuff if you're not going to like expand upon it more? I just like, it made no sense to me, and I hope this clears it up. I'm not trying to be disrespectful or rude to Taylor Jenkins Reid. I just kind of was questioning why. But anyways, back to the video. I literally have no idea. But yeah, it just like, I literally was just like, literally, did you just draw it out of a hat? I don't know. Anyways, I'm rambling, but anyways, 4-star. Then we have 5 Survive by Holly Jackson, just because I have this book on my shelf, and honestly, I just needed to read more books on my shelves because I want to clear them so I can make space for more. I will be donating this book. I just didn't find this book all that interesting, and I didn't think that the thriller aspect was that thrilling. So 3.5 stars. Let's move on to bigger and better things, okay? I got this book. I think my fiance gave this to me for Valentine's? I think my fiance gave this to me for Valentine's this year. I don't remember. Finally got to reading it in May, and boy, I love this book. This book was a 5-star. This book was a 5-star for me. I really loved Phoebe's character. I think she, oh my goodness, she is so just, it's so complex and so just, there were times when at the beginning of the book where Phoebe was, okay, I don't even know how to describe Phoebe as a person. Just like she was just raw and authentic, and just like beautifully just like broken, but also just like so, she knows who she is, and like, oh my gosh, like it just showed, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just, when you're in a relationship with someone and the thoughts that you think, that, I don't even know, like the way Phoebe thinks in this book was, I was just like, I have had those thoughts before. When it came to like interactions with other people, or I don't even know how to describe it. What Phoebe went through was so heartbreaking. You know, she went through multiple things in her life that caused her to be in the mental state that she was in the beginning of the book, and it was kind of heartbreaking, and at times it was hard to read, given that she was so pessimistic and so depressed and so just filled with anxiety, and it was hard to read. As someone who is so optimistic, it was very difficult to read, and she did have like self-destructive tendencies in a way, but also her being a people pleaser and just living for everyone but herself and wanting to be perfect, and how things play out in our life that is just not the way that they play out, and that being detrimental. And I don't know, this book just resonated so deeply with me. And then the complete character arc of Phoebe and the main male character, it was just like her whole world just turned upside down. And this book literally just gives you so much hope and a better outlook on life, and to know that things are temporary and all of the suffering that we go through is not in vain, and that the suffering that we go through shows so much beauty in itself, and it shows us that we're alive and we're human. And once we get to the other side of that tunnel, the other side of the suffering, the other side of the pain, that life can truly be lived, and it can be lived freely. And I don't know, this book just, I was not expecting it to be the way it was. It was hilarious. I think the characters are so funny, so complex, and I love how Phoebe thinks, and she is so articulate and just so, I don't know how to describe her, but it was truly a phenomenal book, and one that left a big impact on me for sure. So I could be reading super deep into it, but I tend to do that, but I truly recommend this book to everyone. This was indeed a 5-star. After rambling so much, we have Good Girl, Bad Blood, Holly Jackson again. Okay, I was listening to this on audiobook. It's just like, it just gets to a point where it's like, it's repetitive. It's a different case, just still set up very similarly, and I think potentially I should have listened to them back to back, but I didn't. But I just don't think this was all that interesting, and I found myself as I was listening to the audiobook when I was driving, or working from home, or working wherever, I just found myself just daydreaming and drifting off, and I just couldn't really stay focused on the story. So I rated this 3 stars because I didn't think it was that interesting. For more exciting books to come, we have in June Shatter Me. Girl, if you know me, you know how much I love this book. I read this back in high school, and as you can tell by the wear and tear of the book, she is well loved, and this was the first time I reread this book, and oh my goodness, did all of the emotion and memories flood back into me. And I really, really missed the characters, and I really missed, okay, let me lay my thoughts down. Because you know what, since we're kind of towards the end, we're in June, July territory. We also read the Destroy Me, Fracture Me novellas and Unravel Me, and I'm currently on Ignite Me. But this was in June as well, and this was in July in July, because I think I read this towards the end of June. But anyways, these two books, because I was in such a slump with Good Girl Bad Blood, and I was starting to work out in the field for my job, and it was just a huge transition, and I hadn't at that point been able to it wasn't a graceful transition, because I'm working long hours. As you can tell, I'm tan, I'm out in the sun, you know, it was a vibe check, it was completely off. But anyways, I read these two in June, both 5 stars, and the way that I just missed the characters, and I remember Juliet being a totally different person growing up than now. Now that I have matured a little bit, I'm able to see how truly strong Juliet is and how deeply she cares for everyone. Compared to when I was in high school, I really just thought she was like weak and like whatever. I just love Warner. But no, now rereading this, I realized truly how powerful Juliet is, and how her voice literally matters so much, and she literally has people in a chokehold. Like, I love her. I also love how she just like doesn't fold over easily for anyone, and I love that. She is just a hurt person who wants to be loved, and she's a tough little cookie. Then I read Destroy Me, which is in this book together with, it's the Unite Me, but it's the Destroy Me part first. So it's following Warner, and oh my gosh, I love Warner, I love Warner, I love Warner. That's my man. Completely just a complex character, and I love him so much. And we'll get to the second half, which is Fracture Me, a little bit later. To wrap June up, we also listened to Do Not Disturb by Frida McFadden. I honestly don't remember how the book ended. I remember it was crazy, that the sister was crazy, but that's pretty much it. I think this is one of her older books, but I listened to it on audio because if you know me, you know I love Frida McFadden on audio because her narrators are superb. But I rated this book a 3.75, which is typically a higher rating for Frida McFadden books for me. We have July, Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. Honestly, I was kind of disappointed in this book. I found it a little boring at times, and I did feel like this book were just events, and they were just stringed together, and it wasn't just like a cohesive story. And yeah, I think that the main female character lacked a lot of depth, and I just was kind of waiting for the story to be over. So I rated it 3.75. Unravel Me, which is the second book of the Shatter Me series by Tahereh Mafi. I don't even think I said the author. Sorry, Miss Mafi. Credit where credit is due. I also really loved this book. I think Juliet's character really shined, and she was able to tap in to her power, and she is just such a bad bee. I love her. Love Warner. You learn a lot more about Warner and Adam. Adam not so much, because Adam is as complex as a rock. And you learn that in Fracture Me, where you literally learn that he is a fill in the blank. Anyways, Fracture Me was 3.75. I think I have never read such an emotionally dull, emotionless void of a character than I did with Adam, and it just reignited the fuel of the Adam hate train. So that's pretty much it so far in this series, but I am on Ignite Me, and I'm about maybe 85 pages in. I have been a little bit slow on reading because I've just been in a slump and working crazy hours. But I probably will be reading Ignite Me a little bit this week because I have a little bit of a break this week. So I'm so excited. I just want to take, hi, it's August. Wow, okay. I think it's August 4th. Oh, I didn't even give you my ratings. 5-star, the Destroy Me is 5-star, 5-star, and Fracture Me is 3.75 because it's following Adam, and I don't need to listen to Adam's voice, honestly, so, it was kind of painful living in his head. I'm so excited to finish the Shatter Me series and to read it in all of its completeness, because I stopped at, I always get them mixed up. It's either Restore Me or Defy Me, but it's the 4th book, and I think I read like maybe less than 20 pages, and I didn't finish it. So I'm excited to finish Ignite Me, then jump into the 4th book, and just keep on going, and finish the whole series, and wrap it up. And because I know Tara Mafi released a new book that is in the same universe but different characters, and I'm itching to read them. And my bestie boo, if you don't follow her, Kiki, reading, I think her YouTube is Reading with Kiki. She read This Woven Kingdom by Tara Mafi. She was like, oh my gosh, like this made me cry. And I said, wait till you meet Warner, because who you're reading is Warner 2.0, okay? Because he is the OG. That is all of my thoughts so far with reading this year, and some anticipated reads for the end of the year is, of course, finishing the Shatter Me series, but I don't know when I'm gonna read the Throne of Glass series. My bestie boo, the girl that I just mentioned, Kiki, bestie boo she read Crown of Midnight, and I think she's on Assassin's Blade right now, and she will then be going on to Arrow Fire, and we were supposed to buddy read it, but I cannot get my stuff together. I don't know what is wrong with me, I just can't get it together. But anyways, then I have another friend who wants to read Throne of Glass with me, but I don't know what it is. I just don't think I'm emotionally ready for Throne of Glass. I don't think I'm ready to be just absolutely disheveled at all, so yeah. But anyways, I do intend on reading Harry Potter in the fall, and hopefully, because it is I wouldn't say it's YA, I would say it's middle grade, but I actually don't know. Harry Potter fans, don't come after me, please. But I feel like I should be able to get through Harry Potter very quickly, so yeah. That was my intention. It was supposed to read Throne of Glass at the beginning of the year, and then read Harry Potter at the end of the year. I don't think I'm gonna be able to read that many books by the end of this year, but because I have still the 3 big books. Well, it's not big compared to Throne of Glass, but I still have the 3 full books of Shatter Me, which is Restore Me, Defy Me, and then Imagine Me, and then the novellas in between, which is basically 1 book. So I still have 4 books in the Shatter Me series, let's call it 4. And then like Harry Potter is like 8 books, and then Throne of Glass is like 8 or 9 books. I think it's 8 books. When do I have time to read 18 books? But anyways, that's my problem to figure out, but yours to watch, okay? I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what books you read this year, what were your favorites, what didn't you like, and if you've read any of the books that I've read. Let me know how you feel about them. I hope you all have a great day or night wherever you are, and I can't wait to get back into YouTube. I just feel like my schedule has been a little crazy, so once everything calms down, I can't wait to be active again and post on social media, post on the Bookstagram, post on the tubes, you know. Until then, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!